Hello and welcome to Dr. Waddah Geophysical channel. Today I'm going to talk about the relationship between geomagnetic variations and seismic events according to some global geophysical studies. In this presentation, I'll try to answer some questions related to this topic in geophysics and precisely in exploration geophysics. This topic links between the seismic events which take place in different parts of the world and the magnetic variations related to the magnetic field or the Earth's main magnetic field. So, in this presentation, I try to answer some questions about how the Earth generates its own magnetic field and what are the main components of the geomagnetic field, what are the changes in geomagnetic field elements, and is there any relationship between geomagnetic element variation and Earth events occurrence or earthquake events occurring? What are these evidences referring to the relation between magnetic intensity variations and the occurred earthquake magnitudes? In this presentation, I relied on three research articles which are published and available online, like the signature of the 2011 Tokyo mega earthquake on the geomagnetic field measurements in Japan, Takla et al. 2013. The geomagnetic field variations recorded in Vrancia zone, Romania during 2008 and 2013 by Mihai et al. 2021, and the general changes of earthquake activity and geomagnetic solar quiet variations for some global regions for Duma and Ruggi in 2003. Also, I have other references which I relied on during the preparing of this presentation, which available at the last page of this presentation or last slide. The other thing that I'm trying to say is I'm going to leave the link which contains the PDF file where you can download and read this presentation and its details. Right now, I'm going to talk generally about the magnetic field or geomagnetic field of the Earth. As it's known, the geodynamo theory is the most accepted theory in generation and the generation of the geomagnetic field. So the main magnetic or Earth's magnetic field is generated at the outer core of the Earth from the gigantic magnetic magma or magmatic swirls, which are very huge, and we have the electrosphere, which is available for the Earth, and this would make a charges or electrical charges through these swirls and to generate the main magnetic field. Also, we have the external effects, which about 1% only from the magnetic field and are related to the ionizing that takes place in the ionosphere part. This ionization of the ionosphere part is related to the interaction between the cosmic ray that comes from the sun as it hits the magnetic shield of the Earth. And their evidences are very clear near the poles and the equator. The change of the geomagnetic fields components, which appears here, the components are calculated by using the equations appears here for, and this drawing explains what are the main components of the geomagnetic field, which is the main intensity symbolized by B or sometimes F. And also we have the X and Y and Z components, the horizontal component, which point to the magnetic north or meridian, and the X component, which points towards the geographic north. And here are the equations or the geometrical equations to calculate each element. These elements are variable in the terms of the days or months or even in years, and also it has secular variations. Monitoring these variations could be attended by using the satellite or achieved by using the satellite orbitography. And the references refer that there are about 200 operating magnetic observatories worldwide, as well as several more temporary sites that monitors the magnetic variations on daily, monthly, or yearly basis. The World Magnetic Model, which is provided by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, gives a good service for monitoring most of the magnetic elements that I talked about previously, which are the declination angle, inclination angle, the horizontal component, and the X, Y, Z, and F components. So it is very possible to calculate the magnetic variables or elements for a certain area of interest, and also for a certain period of time. Then we may correlate between the magnetic elements variation and the seismicity for a certain site. As I talked before, the studies, there are about tens of studies which handle this subject in the form of research articles which are published in different scientific journals around the world. I chose only these three studies because the results was presented in a way to make it to understand the relationship between the seismic variations and or the earthquake occurrence, which is synchronized with the magnetic or geomagnetic element variations. For example, from this study, which is in Japan by Takla et al. 2013, the results show that he used some about eight seismic or seismological recording stations, the data of the recording stations, and also the variation of the F, which is the main intensity or magnetic intensity. The graph showing a yearly variation starts from year 2001 and ends at year 2012. And it shows an increase within the value or the magnitude of the intensity with time, and reached to its high levels at the year 2011, where the great earthquake event happened in Japan. Also, another study which is made by Mihai et al. 2021 presented the results in a very good state, showing about 5 to 6 elements variation with the main earthquake events with the magnitudes from about 5 to 3, and the variation of the geomagnetic elements, which are the y component, x component, and the z component, plus the variation with the what called the geomagnetic storms. So the geomagnetic storms also is classified by the NOAA organization from 5 to 90, and the last one, the last graph or the last section, which is appears in purple, showing the synchronizing between the magnetic storms or geomagnetic storms and the seismic events at the same time. Another study about the changes of earthquake activity and geomagnetic solar quiet variations for Duma and Rogin 2003. In this study, about 3 or more sites have been used to study the relation between the geomagnetic variations and the earthquake events, and the relationship between them according to what happened in the ionospheric current system variations. So this is related to the electrosphere and how the geomagnetic variations, which are diurnal or secular or monthly, affects the magnetic field, and also reflected as variations within the magnetic field along the time. So there are some diurnal variations. As we can see, the graphs are related to about 24 hours in the local time, where the measurements of earthquake and the magnetic intensity at the same time are monitored. So that requires the availability of the measuring the magnetic intensity plus the recording of the earthquake events with different magnitudes, and we see that there is a good correlation between the number of earthquakes that takes place with different magnitudes with the solar quiet curve, which is related to the diurnal variations. Here is a graph showing these variation in the yearly basis. So we can see that it started from year 1860 to the year 2000, and how the number of earthquakes is highly correlated, or with high correlation relationship with the magnetic intensity variation. The explanation, we are still in this research, which is for Duma and Rogin 2003, and I really liked the information about this topic from this research. So we have that the variations that takes place when a solar geomagnetic storm takes place, or daily variations within the cosmic ray exposure at the ionosphere. This leads to high variations with the value of about 1000 amperes at the electrosphere layer, and this would cause an effect that reflected as a torque force that takes place and uh, which is related between the horizontal component and the main intensity, and the solar quiet currents produces this type of magnetic effect, and this may trigger an earthquake, or may share a part in triggering earthquakes. So the conclusions that I reached in this seminar presentation is the relationship between geomagnetic elements' daily, monthly, and yearly variations and earthquake occurrence is evident. This have been approved by the research studies handled in this seminar, and through tens of previous research studies which are not mentioned here. There is a true eventual synchronization between earthquakes occurrence, especially the events of the higher magnitude, and the geomagnetic element variations with time. So it's proposed to give this research trend better attention by the Iraqi geophysicists, and this is possible by implementing the seismic bank records of seismic stations. These earthquake records could be correlated to the world magnetic model or a geomagnetic elements variation in these stations. It is also possible to install magnetometers by the seismic recording stations locations in order to monitor the synchronized geomagnetic seismological events with different periods of time in order to increase the scope of this type of research interest in Iraq. It's possible also to monitor the gravity magnetic seismic triple synchronization activity by the seismic recording station location as the additional scientific researching topic in geophysics. And I would like to stop at the third recommendation point. So most geophysicists interested about the effect of gravity of the planetary alignment and its hypothesis as its cause a gravimetric attraction force during certain periods of time in some parts of the world, and this may trigger earthquakes by the zones of seismicity, or what called the firing zones, which are actively seismic in earthquake events. But there is also the magnetic effect, which is also synchronized with the effect of earthquakes. So it is recommended to measure the triple action or the three elements together, which are the gravimetric, magnetic, and seismic, at the same time in certain stations, which are the stations of recording the seismic events. That's all for today, and I hope that you will enjoy reading this seminar. And thank you very much for paying attention. Thanks a lot.